How do you say hello?
Everybody turn your cell phone off. Private.
Privy.
Private is for Ukraine.
Ukraine.
It's for Ukraine. Oliotia.
Patrick, let's put your phone.
Oliotia is for Ugandans, Uganda.
Okay.
And then Swahili.
Hola.
Ola is for Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Habari Gani or Jambo for the Swahili. East Africa. All people in East Africa say Jambo. So like you can greet.
Bonjour for
Bonjour.
France.
Bonjour.
How do you say it in Italy? This is my lovely wife over here. Buongiorno.
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 Buongiorno. That's Italy. Buongiorno.
And in China?
In China they say
Ni hao.
ni hao.
Ni hao.
Ni hao.
That's what you should do, Patrick. You go, I greet you all in China, ni hao, in Nigeria, ni hao, in Cameroon,
I'm going to bring you in for that one, Mike. There's no reason why you can't come in. We're live, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
morning.
In Japan,
Good
konnichiwa.
afternoon.
In Japan they say konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Yeah, konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. So
Konnichiwa.
yes. As you see, we are, because Japan is the hosting country now for the Olympics.
Yes.
It's good to say konnichiwa in Japanese. So everybody, konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. And also, Uncommon Dialogue Films has a project that we may be shooting in Japan shortly.
Oh, surely in Japan?
Yes.
That's great news. Is Michael gonna be there?
Michael will be there. Yes. Michael will be there. My lovely wife Heidi will be there. Maria, Uncommon Dialogue's Wizard of Assistance, will be there.
Oh, Maria. Such a wonderful lady, Maria. Oh, that should be great. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we just want to keep it so cool. We don't want attention. We want you to gather so that we can talk to our legendary, our superstar, our genius. Artists. We as artists call you genius. So everybody should have their own way of calling you. But for us, we name you as genius.
It's funny that my lovely wife Heidi used to say I was a genius, and I really adored her for that. I actually think she's a genius. So.
Oh, she used to say that?
People have different kinds of geniuses. It takes all kinds of geniuses to make the world go round.
Okay, so Heidi. I've known someone called Heidi, but not too long ago.
Haiti is the country. Heidi is my wife. Haiti is where they just had a political assassination.
Oh.
Haiti. But we're just talking pronunciation. Haiti has had a very colorful and very storied history. Did you know that the only slave revolt that was ever successful in the Western Hemisphere was in Haiti?
Really?
They threw off the French oppressors. Of course, the whole thing, like a lot of revolutions, descended into alternative terrors and things like that. That's why the American Revolution is so special, because it didn't descend into terror. Of course, if you were a slave during that time, the terror continued.
Okay.
But unlike the French Revolution, which of course descended into the reign of terror.
Okay.
So we always have to watch when we have revolutions to make sure that they stay pure and stay as nonviolent as possible, like Nelson Mandela's revolution in South Africa.
Okay. I mean, most of our movie actors, teachers who travel around the world know a lot of history. So I can't be surprised that you know a lot of things.
Well, I always like to read.
Yeah.
My parents wouldn't let me watch TV early on, although I snuck it and I saw a lot of interesting TV. But I would read, and I read a book a day for a long time.
Okay.
And you actually can travel the world by reading. It's not the same as traveling the world, but you can cover a lot of ground by reading books. And that's why education is so important. And that's why we would like the public school education in California to be the finest in the world,
Okay.
which is a central reason why I'm running for governor, which is to make the California and the world a better place for our
Let
children.
me first tell people, please, we know that you've been waiting for the next governor of California, but please don't call now. You call when we tell you to call, because I see many calls coming in. Please wait. You call when I say that it's time, because we need to first hear from him. We need to hear what he's telling us, because I mean, we can't just start calling in. Welcome, Patrick, you have my vote. That one is actually a voter.
God bless you.
Yeah.
I'm actually here to share some things
Yes.
rather than to tell people things.
Yes, to share. That's very
I'd like
important.
to share. It's because our campaign is about elevating everyone, listening to everyone, and having empathy for everyone.
Yeah. So members.
Kind of like being an actor or a movie director or a movie producer. You have to listen to everyone, let everyone perform in
Yeah.
the finest way they can towards a shared goal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mean that's.
I want to give him a big hug right off the bat to start.
Thank you very
He
much.
has a tough job. He actually has to corral Patrick Kilpatrick.
You know, there are those moments in life where you don't believe something is true, but it's true, because all of you know from Africa, you know how we grew up watching the Toxic Avenger, watching the Terminator, and many more movies. So when we talk about Patrick, and always for us in Uganda, we believe that people with the art part of their lives, they are very good leaders, because they've been there, they've been an example, and they've seen the world. Because you are already a leader when you are an artist, you are an actor. You teach people, you inspire people through what you do.
I think you're actually right there. A good arts program, which is why we first wonder and we pledge to restore the arts programs
Yes.
to our children's curriculum at their schools.
Yeah.
Why has the arts programs, why have the sports programs, why have the music programs been removed from our public schools?
Yes.
That's unacceptable.
So I'm gonna ask my senior. I call him my senior because he's gonna be our.
Because I'm older than he is.
Yes, he's older. He's senior in the field of art, and he's senior because he's gonna be our next California state governor. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope God has blessed your day like He has done to us, and we pray for those who are in difficulties. I want to introduce to you my guest today. We just had a few words chatting here and there, but officially I would love Mr. Patrick to introduce, because I want you to know that it's him, not someone else. Because,
Not an avatar
yeah, not an
or a
avatar.
hologram.
Yeah, I almost wanted to run away because I've watched him when he's a villain, so I don't want to sit next to a villain. But thank God he's human, you know.
You know, actually, one of the most wonderful things is to meet young people or young adults who saw some of those movies early on, and they experience exactly what you're saying. It's like, should they be afraid or should they be, is this real? Because they saw the movies so young that the line between reality and fantasy was actually blurred. And it's really quite a wonderful thing that you're part of the dream fantasy, or in some cases, the nightmare fantasy of people. The truth is, most of the guys who play villains that I know are actually the most wonderful of human beings. Perhaps it's because they're able to exercise that in a play form.
Okay.
So Brian Thompson, Alan Rickman, Javier Bardem, all these great actors who have played villains Christopher Walken,
Walking. Yeah.
Ellen Barkin, Sharon Stone. These people are the nicest of people in many cases, and that's because I think they get to play at war, or they get to play at evil, which is a very different thing than being evil in real life, or being violent in real life. Movie violence and movie villainy is a very different exercise, and so I've been very blessed to walk in that terrain and to walk in many terrains as a writer.
Yes.
And now as a person running for office, it's the same process. You're doing your research, you're listening to many different kinds of people, you're watching the world around you, and then you're moving forward to conjure, to make real the performance or the plan or the vision. Having a plan or a vision for California is exactly the same exercise as having a plan for a movie and executing it with teams of great people and carrying it to the audience, carrying it to the electorate, the people who will vote. So the plan we have to carry to the people, to share with the people, is one that comes from listening, from observing our environment. And I look forward to speaking with all of you and executing and sharing that plan with you and getting your opinion of it.
Actually, the way we started is very interesting, because I was scared of us. Sometimes you find a musician and they don't want to talk about their own music, their own
their craft.
Their crafts, But I'm so glad that you like talking about your previous and current, because most of the questions that I've received are related. Because people, when I posted, everyone from the Little Ethiopia, from Kenyan communities, Nigeria communities, everywhere, they are asking almost same questions. Is he real? Is he not a villain? Is it this? But that's for another day. We have Mr. Patrick.
My wife loves me. My children love me. The directors I've worked with love me. My actor friends love me. My collaborators in the office, I think, love me.
Yes.
Because really, isn't what it comes down to is service? I mean, when I come on a movie, I'm there to serve the story. I'm there to serve the global audience. I'm there to serve the writer who has produced a script. I'm there to improvise if that is required. I'm there to polish the script if that's required as a writer. I'm there to talk to them and to help with the distribution, to serve the business and economic model of the film. I'm there to elevate the production. So really, that's what it comes down to. And one of the reasons I decided to run for governor is, how can I elevate this production? How can I make the state that we live in better? How can we, and it really comes down to, how many of you out there serve your children? If we centrally don't leave a better place for our children and those to come for us, if we don't serve our older people, if we don't serve the generations around us, it comes down to service, really.
Yes.
On all endeavors. If you're a doctor, you must serve your patients. You must serve your Hippocratic oath. You must do no harm. And I see a circumstance in California which that is not occurring. We are not what was the purpose of the American experiment? The purpose of the American experiment was that governments were there to serve people, not vice versa. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, however flawed they may have been, and they were flawed, they were human beings. They possessed slaves at that time, but their vision for humanity was to serve, and also they laid their own fortunes, their own lives at risk. How many of you know that 76, I believe, 76 people who signed the Declaration of Independence did not survive the revolution. They were tortured, they were captured by the British, and they were going against the greatest empire of its time, the British Empire. So I see many different systems of oppression as I move around. If you're a filmmaker, you have hierarchies that you have to go through by diplomacy, by swift action, by excellence of your product. You have to go through that. You have to make friends with people. You have to remember their birthdays. You have to do all of that. By the same token, when you run into a genuine oppressive environment, you have to be inventive. You have to go around. You have to find your own money for the making of films. You have to speak to the venture capital community. You have to do what it takes to get your job done. And that's why the slogan for our campaign is, let's get it done. Because it's not being gotten done for the citizens of California. We have rampant homelessness. We have skyrocketing taxes. We have businesses fleeing the state. All the film business has gone away because of the arrogance and mismanagement of decades worth of government here. Is our undocumented population, our immigrant community, being served by this government? I don't think so. I don't think the immigrant community is being served because they live in the shadows. When they work harder than many native-born Americans, they work really, they get America, they get California. They come here, they want that chance at the American dream. So why aren't they brought out of the shadows? They entered the country illegally, so why don't they pay a fine over 10 years to acknowledge that illegal act? And who among us has not done an illegal act sometime in their life?
Yeah,
I know you've made some U-turns in residential neighborhoods.
There's a day when I had to sing in another language in my own country. That's an illegal act.
You did what?
To sing in another language in my own country.
Yes. Really?
Yeah,
That's an illegal act.
Yeah, because I sing in Congolese when I'm in Uganda. That should be illegal.
It should be illegal, or it is illegal?
I think it's illegal because you sing something that I don't understand. Like what you did, I think it's also illegal. Something you did.
Me?
You got my
personally?
song. You got my song, which you didn't even know what it means, and you put in your video.
Mm-hmm.
And when you asked me, I said the song means you got my vote, but you just picked a song on YouTube.
I didn't pick it. You chose it.
I think maybe Michael,
our good friend,
who's
who's very
someone.
attuned to the African community.
Maybe he called someone in Uganda.
He chose it. So people respond differently to oppressive situations.
Yeah.
If your singing in one language was illegal, then if you're a certain kind of person, that just makes you want to sing louder.
Okay. So
It just makes you want to say, no, you can't tell me what language I'm going to sing.
yes.
So that would mean that you're singing before an authoritarian regime. And I think all decent people around the world need to gather together and join together to stand against authoritarianism.
So, Mr. Patrick, I understand that I'm tempted to call you governor already. So, I understand that many people know about the movie acting and all that, but there are very many people in the world that would love to know that actually you've done it all.
I've done what?
That you've done it all that can mean a leader. From university, you went to advertising for fashion, life books, teaching about entertainment business, organizing film schools even in Fiji, Brazil. You were starting an academy in Nigeria. I was talking to Michael the other day, some months back. We are organizing something to start another film academy in Uganda. Like you have done, and you've talked about starting, a lot of things, etc. You're so incredible. Tell us more about that, because people may think you are just a movie actor, And actually, people know you because they follow, of course. But, you know, like internationally, Fiji, Nigeria, where, you know, I think that's a leader already.
Well, I agree with you. I think that a wide breadth of experience is what's required of leaders. I think sometimes people can be great leaders when they're very, very young, and I look forward to that because the young have a great vision that they can bring to bear. When I came out of my mother, I knew that pure food and pure water were really important, and they fostered that as well. But yeah, I have a lot of energy, and I apply it in places where I choose to apply it. A lot of it has always come out of writing and acting. And of course, I think most people, when they reach a particular point in their life, they want to give back and have a wider arena that they address. To me, it's just a natural evolution. The advertising at its best is communication. And I was very lucky. I had great products and communication messages to give to people. I was very blessed. I think that the universe and God gives us that which we need to fulfill our greater purpose as we go along. Sometimes it's painful. For example, I broke my back in a car accident, which was very bad when I was 17. And actually, I couldn't play sports for a long time. And before that, all I had done is play sports and ride and play baseball and read. I read a book a day. So that event seemed like it was a really bad thing, okay? But it really was a blessing. I don't believe in negative events. I believe that God is taking us into the arenas, into the places where we belong to fulfill our greater purpose. And the universe knows our greater purpose far greater than we do. So I never even intended to become an actor. All I wanted to do was be a writer. And so I went to New York and I became a writer. And then I began to work with graphic artists and as the writer person. Then after a while you learn graphic arts, so you can merge that and become a creative director. And then after that I felt like real writers wrote novels, so I wrote plays and fiction, and then that went into directing and producing and assistant directing on Broadway and off Broadway and all these other places. And then that took me into the world of acting, and God picked me up, the universe picked me up with a lot of work by myself and put me into acting. But I never stopped writing as a screenwriter, and then I became I founded a film company, because after a while you want to control your own destiny there. Yeah. And then after a while, many of the things that I did were driven by economic need, because I had a family and I needed to take care of them. And so I needed to always find other ways of activity that would actually serve others and were useful to the universe, but also would nurture me. And teaching was something that I really, really loved. So I was able to, and after all that acting and that experience, I had something to give back. So that naturally occurs that you can form film academies. And when you've worked with people like Spielberg and James Cameron and Chuck Russell and Nicholas Roeg and Guy Hamilton, some of whom you may have never heard of, but they were brilliant visionary people, the ones you haven't heard of. And so to carry those things that I had learned from them to larger groups of people. Okay. And then that takes you into politics, because in countries like Nigeria and Brazil, they need unemployment. They need people to be elevated and uplifted so that conflict stops. These are warring people, and if you give people jobs, and one of the greatest joys that I have is to give people great, interesting jobs that they can be elevated by, that they can educate their families with, that they can, and by the way, the politicians can then say, hey, I did this, I brought this school to my country, Nigeria, and I want great things for my people. And having 19 cars isn't the most important thing in life. It's not. We can't take the 19 cars with us, but you can take the love and kindness that you have conveyed to other people with you. And that's what is immortal. That is what remains with you. How we raise our children, what effect we've had on the world. Those are the
Social
important
contribution.
things. Sure, of course.
Oh.
I'm being long-winded, and I apologize for that, but it's an elaborate story. Look, wherever you are, wherever anybody is,
I mean,
all you have to do is, for the next 5 minutes, make the world a more beautiful place. All you have to do is say, my next act is going to be one of kindness and love and generosity to the people that I'm around. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter what position you're in. Somebody said to me yesterday, I have to make millions of dollars, Patrick. I have to make millions of dollars. Well, it's concerning because you can have a very, very powerful, absolutely magical effect on your world without a single dime to your name. Make the world more beautiful. We all have to do it. Look, I want to be governor of California.
Yes.
I can't do it by myself.
Yeah,
I have to have other people. I have to have responsible citizens. I have to have responsible corporations. I have to have great and wonderful teachers. We all have to have all of us working together in order to make this society function. We can't have one portion that is not willing to roll up its sleeves and contribute. We can't have corporations that only want to take for themselves. We can't have greed being our central motivation, because you can't take it with you, folks. You might as well have a grand time helping other people and benefiting yourself by doing that while we're here.
And you know, ladies and gentlemen, most of the questions that we are going to ask Patrick today were sent by you. When you posted and we requested you to send in your questions, you sent a lot of questions. So many questions are similar, but we are going to, we have a way we're doing it so that we don't spend the rest of the day here. You know, when someone is running for governor, they have a lot to do actually. That's why we continue to thank Patrick for the time he has given the Saba Karim show to talk with you. I see you are very many numbers, 940, 50, whatever it is. Everyone, tell one, tell two, tell three, communicate to the other, because we need our genius, our superstar, like Heidi calls him, to that governor.
I want to say what a superstar Heidi is. She's involved in every single thing that I'm doing here, and she has been an inspirational person, not only on every aspect of my character, but every aspect of my life. By connection with her family, everything that we're doing as a film company has been elevated. Her sons are prodigies of art and martial arts and every kind of other thing. And so I've been tremendously influenced by them, just as I've been tremendously influenced by my own sons, who are quite brilliant, and their wives and the grandchildren and everything.
That's good, because one of the questions that was sent in is that how is the reaction from your own wife and children about you running for governor? It's one of the questions, so you are answering it like indirectly, but just let's start with that one, because of course you've already talked about it. How is the reaction? How is the feel,
Well, it's individual, given whichever person we're talking about. I have one son who I think they're all proud of me, and I think they're all enjoying the experience. But some people are less public than others, and some people, I've lived in the public eye for my whole life. Even before acting as an athlete, I was used to performing in front of crowds of people and and having that attention placed upon me. But some people want to go about their life much more quietly. So I have one son who doesn't wish to be politically engaged, and another who is quite intrigued by it all. But they have their separate lives, and one is involved in medicine and entrepreneurial management of a company, and another is a great architectural person. And so they have their own lives that they're doing, but I know that they love me beyond measure, and I love them beyond measure, and they embrace what I'm doing, I think, with a lot of pride. But whether they come out and publicly become involved is quite another thing.
Heidi and the sons, this is for you.
Heidi is. If I can please my wife, I'm doing quite well. Sometimes we disagree, and sometimes we both very strong people. But
like any other human race.
yes, like humans, like two brothers who love each other, not
Yes.
Heidi and I. Two sisters, a sister and a brother. We
There
love
will always
each other.
be
Yeah.
negatives and positives.
The human condition sometimes involves disagreement.
Yeah.
It's much better if we learn to love each other at the same time while we're having a disagreement. And
Yes.
with Heidi and I, that's not in question. We love each other and we're devoted to each other. And a great discovery was to see a woman's love blossom if they know that you're completely committed to them, and if you know that you're completely there for all time. So that was a great revelation for me. I probably would have gotten married fully much earlier if I'd known. Just in the way, if I had known what a blessing having children was, I might have done it earlier. But to have these relationships, to have these relationships with our children, we have to be able to be fully engaged with them and give love and be willing to sacrifice for the other person. Self-sacrifice is actually a big element of leadership, of love. John Lennon said, in the end, the love you get is the love you give, and really that's true. Straying into pop culture here.
So another question comes in. People say that you've already contributed tremendously to the economy of the state of California and the whole U.S. as a country. Why do you think, as a governor, you will do more than you've already done?
Well, I know I've been involved in a lot of movies that have made money and have entertained people across the whole spectrum. I know that I contributed to the dissemination of the magazines, which I believed in, like Life magazine and Time and People and Sports Illustrated and Cycle and Interview magazine. By working for those magazines, I was playing my part to communicate great ideas and education in that regard. As a playwright, you're saying things about the human condition. As a filmmaker, you want to do things that someone in Mumbai or someone in Uganda or someone in Moscow or someone in Chicago, or Beijing, it resonates with people all the world over. And we all have this situation where we have human emotions. We've experienced loss and love and redemption and success, and you want to, in creating movies, you want to embrace that. And not only is that just about cinema, that's about the economics of world filmmaking. The greatest way that you can serve your investors is by creating something that is globally significant. In California, we should be creating something that is globally significant. We should be the exporters of ecological technology that helps us to arrest climate change, and we should be exporting that all over the world. We should be leading the way with education. We should be leading the way with our ability to solve the homelessness issue. We should be leading the way in being able to lower taxes so that more money is in the hands of our citizens. We should be leading the way by government serving the people, and we are not. Why are we not? Why are we pumping sewage still into the Santa Monica Bay and along the coast? Why are our taxes skyrocketing and yet our roads are not paved and our public schools are not the finest in the nation and the world? Why are we not all on wind power and solar power in our apartment buildings and our houses when we have the magnificent sun and the wind? And why are we suffering from drought when we have an ocean that we can desalinate as they do in Israel? Why is our agriculture sucking up all of the water, but we're not giving preferential rates to organic growers so that we're building pure food and pure water with our agriculture? Why are we being inhumane to animals when we are raising them for food? So there's lots of questions, and I believe that we can solve these. Well, we can solve these. We have a lot of why young people can't get houses and families get on the ladder of home ownership. Because we know that home ownership is a grand foundation for democracy.
Exactly.
Well, how did they do it in Richmond, Virginia? My sister gave a 70% tax credit to anyone who renovated a historical building.
Oh.
And so young people could buy a building and get 70% back because they renovated it. So it totally changed the entire community and elevated it. So as governor of California, we're calling for a 70% rebate for people, or cash incentive for people to renovate vintage buildings and historical buildings. So that allows people to get in on home ownership in an affordable manner. We're also calling for design-worthy affordable housing. A lot of people think of affordable housing as, oh my God, they're going to build a slum right next to us. Well, in Telluride, Colorado, right in the center of town, they have a great art gallery, which is also filled with affordable housing, so the people who work in that town can participate in the living of the town in an affordable way, surrounded by art. So why can't we as developers, and I've developed land myself in Colorado, why can't we do the eco-sensitive stuff with solar power and cellular technologies? In the West, the last thing you want to do is put wires over your landscape. So you use cellular technology, and you don't have to put wires all over the place to mar the view. Why are we not making our lives more beautiful? Why are we all, it's a small thing, but why are we all awoken by leaf blowers every morning? Well, why don't we have solar powered or electric leaf blowers that are required of people to clean up the leaves? That sounds like a small thing, but it's little things that make the large picture, that makes the large picture happen. If you don't pay attention to the details in film production, then the film is flawed. If you don't pay attention to the script, if you don't pay attention to the casting, and my wife Heidi handles the casting, if you don't, and by the way, we do it all together, it's a team effort. If you don't pay attention to the tiny little details, if you don't punish people who pollute our environment, if you don't actually make us accountable as a people, I believe nations and people should be accountable for what they do. America needs to be accountable for what it's done that were perhaps motivated by greed or injustice. But so does China. China needs to be accountable for what it's doing in Tibet and in other places
Yes.
with the Muslim urgas in camps. We need as people to be accountable for our behavior. My mother would always say, well, Pat, it always comes down to self-accountability. If it's a government, Mr. Newsom, you need to be accountable for the explosion of homelessness under your watch. You need to be accountable for the fact that all our businesses are fleeing. You need to be accountable for the fact that all of our film business has gone away. And those are often good eco-sensitive jobs. So that why do we have to go to another state to make films in the place that is supposed to be the birthplace of film?
Yeah, actually,
Up to the point where France actually was the place where Lumiere put the first movies
actually
out.
talking about that, that particular question came from Githuri. Githuri is a Kenyan American in Orange County.
Yes?
Yeah, he's the one who asked that question that I asked. So another question actually talking about that is someone
I'm very interested in Kenya, and I'll tell you why. Because Kenya and Tanzania took a different track in dealing with managed resource hunting. So sometime I'd like to listen to the man from Kenya to see how his feelings are. Kenya banned safari hunting. Tanzania fostered it. Now, counterintuitively, that's a situation we need to look at, and even the UN and the Sierra Club have said that Kenya, by banning managed resource hunting, may have not actually helped the animals or the ecology because it forced the big money for hunters to go to Tanzania. So these are nuanced situations. Nuance means there are things that we need to study about different things in order to find out what the proper way to move forward is.
Yes. Thank you very much for elaborating on that. Mr. Githuri in Orange County, I think now you are covered. Then we have another one. How do you plan to make California the best state to shoot movies than other states like New Mexico, which continues to dominate the industry in regards to filming?
Well,
as a governor,
it's really quite simple, and I don't know why it hasn't been done before. You don't have to be a great magician. If you want to compete with New Mexico, if you want to compete with Georgia, if you want to compete with New Zealand and Australia or the UK, what do? You match the incentives that they give filmmakers for doing it there. Or Canada. We have given away billions of dollars to Canada over the decades. All we have to do, and we have called for an immediate 25% cash rebate to vetted projects, film, media, and photographic projects. So if you're doing a project and it's vetted, then you get 25% back immediately. That makes us instantly competitive with these other environments. You have to run it well, you have to make sure it's not corrupted, you have to make sure that it's applied properly to vetted projects.
Like
but that's how you make yourself competitive. Everybody is going to New Mexico because New Mexico had a visionary incentive program. And they know that video games and films bring good jobs to their citizens. Yeah. Georgia has a right to work state. That means you don't have to be a member of a union in order to work. And they have a 25% rebate. And they have incentives to come down there and do work. And so they've gotten a lot of work. They've gotten recently into trouble because of this voter law. So some places have backed out of that. So to answer your question succinctly, you give filmmakers and media producers and photographers the incentives that they can get for going to other places to film in our beautiful, exquisite state. They have not done it here. What's really amusing, you asked a while back, how are you going to have an effect on the economy of California? Guess what, Sava, my dear friend, we're already having a positive effect on California. You want to know why?
Yes.
Because Uncommon Dialogue Films and my candidacy right now is functioning as the vision division of the Newsom government. We're the vision division
Yes.
of the Newsom government. I'll tell you why. We called for a 25% cash rebate for the film industry on July 16th. On July 21st, Gavin Newsom, after years of inactivity and not a word about the film industry, pledged $330 million of film incentives to the film industry. So I'm very
really
amused
working.
and I'm very happy. We're 2.5 weeks into a campaign, and these people are already making the place a better place because we came up with the visionary idea,
vision.
which wasn't all that visionary anyway to begin with. All you had to do was look at those other states and say, we're going to make ourselves competitive to them. Here's the next thing. We called for preferential water rates for organic growers because we want pure food. We want that to expand. Water costs a bunch of money. We gave preferential water rates to organic growers. We also called for preferential water rates for humane production of animal food. A couple of days later, Gavin Newsom announces, I'm going to have a humane program for hog production. So once again, we're the vision division of the Gavin Newsom campaign.
So you're winning already.
We're winning already, and we're changing. Look, the point is to make the state a better place. Win, lose, or draw, the point is to make the place a better place for all of us, to listen and elevate everyone, to be empathetic to everyone. Well, I have empathy for you, Mr. Newsom, after doing a poor job for a number of years and the Democratic Party not answering to the needs of people here in this state. Now, because of the Kilpatrick candidacy and Uncommon Dialogue Films, you are making the world a better place. Congratulations, Mr. Newsom. Thanks so much.
And also, that brings me to the question. Of course, we who know you, who have
We'll keep pumping out the ideas. You keep trying to react to them, Mr. Newsom, just because your job is threatened. Here's a simple question I want to ask your audience. Who do you want to be governor of your state? Somebody who's applying vision and drive and skill to the job from day one, or somebody who's only reacting at the end when their job is threatened? Sorry, I didn't set out to run against Gavin Newsom. I set out to have empathy and elevation for all Californians. Well, like my mother said, we all got to be accountable for our behavior.
Thank you very much for that elaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a lot of questions. Of course, I'll go ahead and read your comments. You have a lot of messages here. Is my favorite actor watching from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. Can't wait to meet him August 14. Of course, let me take a few, like 1 minute, to talk about our people who help, because this is a voluntary platform as a media, and we thank people like Elsie Kalule, Century 21, Lady Butterfly, Makasi Juice, Aspire, Be More. Actually, the next question is coming from someone called Patrick Ogwang. Patrick Ogwang is someone who deals in beverages. They have a juice, fruit juice, and he said, how do you plan to make California, agriculture has been the backbone of California. The produce has high demand throughout the country and employing a lot of people as well. As well as generating revenue for the state. What's your plan on that? Because him as someone who has a beverage company producing Makasi juice, he feels like he needs to hear to know your plan on agriculture, farming, and the employment around that very sector.
Well, it's a really good question, and it's all a synergistic ball, if you will. It's a type of action that happens, you begin, and then it all starts to work together. Now, I've already talked about the preferential rates for organic agriculture. We've already talked about the undocumented. Are the people of California aware that massive amounts of money are paid because agricultural workers are subjected to pesticides? Okay, so what we need to do is continue to be very valuable as an agricultural state. At the same time, moving towards being a visionary place where we can be preeminent in organic agriculture. This works on multiple levels. One, the topsoil of the state and the nation are not diminished by pesticides going into it. Our water tables are not poisoned by pesticides. Now, there are lots of people who feel, well, we need these pesticides and we need these inorganic techniques in order to produce so much that we can feed the world. Well, we need to get better. We need to get better with the organic techniques so that we can feed the world and maintain our production and service people with pure food and pure water. Because how can we poison one area of our lives and expect the other area to be pure? So by servicing the undocumented agricultural workers and our agricultural sector with organic preferential water rates, with bringing them out of the shadows and making them full contributing presence in our economy, which they already are, but on the tax rolls, in the law enforcement rolls, no convictions over 5 years for a felony, then a clear path to citizenship with classes for child nutrition and English if they wish, to unify us. I don't care if we all speak English. I couldn't care less. I think we need to have a unifying effect on ourselves and a public service component to that, so that out of 8 months of over a 10-year period, you're doing public service. By the way, it's not just for the undocumented, the public service. It's if you want to hold state, federal, or local office and receive welfare benefits, then you have to do that public service component. Everybody has to do it. Everyone has to do it as they move down the line, not just the undocumented. To get back to this gentleman's question, we would want our agriculture to move to a position of preeminence of purity and taste and variety. And that can only happen in a desert where we live by desalination of water to irrigate this agriculture. So we need to use that technology. By the way, Maria made a joke yesterday. Since the sea level is rising from climate change, we need to use some of that water in our agriculture. So you see, it's all a synergy working together. Uncommon Dialogue Films works because all the units of it are working, moving forward, creating high excellence of product. High excellence of government moves forward. The agricultural business becomes more pure. It services the nation and the country with more pure food. It's not polluting the topsoil of the nation, which is degraded. It's very depleted in a lot of places. So we're nurturing our country and our land as we go along. Solar power is causing us not to create emissions into the planet. Electrical cars are not the final solution, because that electrical power is being generated by a coal-burning fire plant that is just away from our cities. I hope your question, your person who asked the question, gets that it's all of us having to work all the way towards a higher goal of making the place more beautiful, more nutritional from the agricultural standpoint. All of these things work together to lift up. We bring back more film jobs and more eco-sensitive businesses, so we're not polluting the state, and we're giving jobs to people so that they can elevate themselves through education. We're making the state healed. We're making the state pure and in the best manner that we possibly can to be representative of the human condition.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking widely now,
Yes.
but that's how it happens. If you can make a good cup of tea, you can create anything brilliantly if each step is properly carried out.
Okay, so before I go to another question, I would love to read a few comments. I know you've written a lot of comments, but I'll read a few of them so that we feel your presence. First of all, I thank each and every one of you who have shared, who has shared, who is there, who is on right now, who is commenting. Feel free to keep asking questions because Kilpatrick, the governor, the next governor, is here to answer. You know, it's not a slang, a slip of the tongue to say the governor because I might be.
Well, it's called power of positive thinking.
Yes. Okay, so
I think it's stepping a little over bounds just yet, but I'm a humble man.
Remember the song Michael put in that video? I'm actually going to teach you.
Amazing grace, how
Yes.
sweet the sound.
I'm going to teach you a
saved a
little bit
wretch
of our
like
dance
me.
so that on next
I
week on Saturday
once
we're going
was
to dance
lost,
together.
but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Barry White. You know, in Barry White's tone. Anyway, Charles and Chang, I think he's Chinese because according to the name, I don't know. Patrick is a great guy. He has my vote. Tiana Bibish, a lad from Nigeria. Yes, of course. Thanks, Patrick. You are awesome.
Thank
You
you
have
very
my vote.
much. You're awesome.
Back
at you.
Welcome, Patrick. I'm proud of you. We have to vote for you. Drake. Drake is actually a powerful actor in Uganda, East Africa. He's one of those leading actors. Drake Clay. He's a brands and actor and writer and everything. So
Well, I
to
look
have
forward
Patrick.
to studying your work because
Yes.
I hope we're going to be shooting films in Africa.
Yes.
And I hope that we are going to be using the best and brightest
Yes.
of Africa in every level of the productions that we're doing.
Yeah, of course. Michael has
because
talked-
I'm a student from you as much as coming to teach or to offer what I have to offer. It's a two-way street. Thank you very much, Drake.
Drake is once talked to Michael. Remember, Michael, in our meeting, we had a meeting with Drake and the ministers. So that's the Drake we are talking about. He's the chief operations for our Bantu First non-profit. So great to have you, Patrick, on this show. What drives you in life? What motivates you? Those are actor questions.
What motivates me?
Yes. Yeah.
What motivates me?
Patrick got my phone.
I want to stand before God and the universe when I pass and know that I've given everything that I had, either physically or mentally, emotionally, because really that's all we have. You know, there have been times when I didn't have so much money, and there have been times when I just, you know, all of us as human beings have to go forward under challenging circumstances. And everybody has challenges. Somebody said everybody is fighting a war inside them when you meet them. And I think that what motivates me is our time on earth is but a wisp, just a little kiss in time.
Oh,
And so
someone is-
we need to make the most of what we're having here in life and not lose our sense of joy while we're doing it. Sometimes to be ambitious and to meet the challenges, we lose that sense of joy. And I actually would like to have a sense of grace and joy under even the most challenging of times. When I come here to talk and speak with people, the first thing I try to say is, please God, let me be of service to these people. And so that motivates me a lot. The love of my wife motivates me a lot. The affection of my children motivates me a lot. The affection of people who work with me motivates me a lot. We have only one time here, so we might as well shoot for it.
Yes, thank you very much. Drake Clay, I think now you know what motivates Patrick. Kesta Izuma, I think he's also from Nigeria. Kesta Izuma says, Patrick got my family vote by his grace.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And then Ronnie Luanga says, I'm glad to see Patrick. When are you bringing him back on the show? Of course, we'll talk about that later. Charles Anchang from the Immigrant magazine from
Oh, I know
Africa, from
Immigrant
Cameroon.
magazine.
Yeah, from
Yes.
Africa, Cameroon. Says, I know I have known Patrick for over 15 years. He has great vision for humanity and lives in Africa. So you have a lot of support from,
Tell them their magazine has a lot of support from me.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Charles and Chang.
Great couple, really great couple. I've met them many times.
Yeah, and also another one called Bonnie Kanyambo. Bonnie Kanyambo is an author. She's an author and article writer. She says, definitely I have to vote for Patrick because I'm a voter and I like him. He's my candidate. So,
She has a hard job. I've been
Yeah.
a freelance journalist myself, and I know how challenging that can be when you're putting food on the table
Yes.
by one article a week or something like that. So that's why we did a lot of interviews,
yes.
because you could do the interviews over the phone and really swiftly, but you have to do your research. I know it's a hard job. Journalists have a hard job.
Yes, really hard. But God directs us and we do it right.
Everyone has a hard job
Okay.
if they're doing it right.
Patrick, you mentioned about 10 years for undocumented people as a fine. How about less than 10 years, as some of us have family, children? Hope you understand.
Say that again?
Patrick, you mentioned about 10 years for undocumented people as a fine, according to your plan. How about less than 10 years, as some of us have family, children? Hope you understand. Thank you very much.
I wasn't talking about time as a fine.
Yeah.
And I'm open to adaptation. But this is a very good question, because how do you solve a problem? You solve a problem by not just imposing something on it, but you solve a problem by listening to both sides and trying to find some level of fairness about the situation, to move away from that challenge and to get on with the process of life. So I listened to, I believe I chatted with about 17 different people before I began to formulate this plan, because I really am devoted to fairness. So the $10,000 fine, or whatever that figure is paid over 10 years in annual increments. And so, look, if we break the law, you must accept the consequences of breaking that law. If you're Martin Luther King and Gandhi and you you break the law, civil disobedience, then you accept the consequences of your action and you are going to go to jail. Now that may be immoral, but you are accepting the consequences of your nonviolent civil disobedience. So what I'm saying is that to solve two elements that are very opposing. One, there are many people who don't want to see undocumented people get a path to citizenship because they entered the country illegally. Okay? I understand the intent to take care of your families, to have a better shot at safety, to come to a better place for opportunity. But there are people who have been here for a long, long time. And by the way, we're all immigrants. We're all immigrants. My family came here in 1620, but we're still immigrants from oppression, from England and Scotland, and to some extent Ireland. So we all fled circumstances looking for a better life. I get that. So we've come here, and by the way, my ancestors, to pay for their passage, worked for 7 years when they got here to pay for that passage.
7 years.
It was called servitude then. It was not the same as slavery, but many of them joined the cavalry or the police department or the army the moment they got off of the boat because they had to pay for their passage here. What I'm suggesting to solve both sides of the question so we can get on with our lives and move and begin to harness openly the great energy that immigrants represent, then we must secure our border. We must do that. We must allow a path to citizenship to people who have already been here. And if they are not criminals and they have not been convicted of a felony over 5 years, then they get a clear path to citizenship that involves child nutrition classes and English classes, should they so desire, and public service. That solves that clear path to citizenship. By the way, right from the beginning, they get a card that says they are a guest of the country, they belong here, they can work here. They're out of the shadows. Then they're into the tax rolls and they're into law enforcement roles. Not because they're criminals, but because we're all in the law enforcement roles on some level. So you become a de facto guest and citizen of the country. De facto, because at the end of 5 years of service here, being in the country without a conviction of a felony, then you get a clear path to citizenship and a version of the GI Bill which allows you to go to higher education with subsidy from the government. That's a great gift. My father went to college on the GI Bill for fighting in all of World War II, from age 17 till age 25. Okay, and then he emerged and he went to college on the GI Bill. Some version of that kind of a program would be available to all immigrants to go to higher education from this program. How is this all paid for? It is paid for by the fine for entering the country illegally, $10,000 paid over 10 years. That generates nationally, depending on how many undocumented we have, which is no one really knows, but there are estimates, it raises $200 to $300 billion that can pay for the whole program. So other people's taxes are not raised. And by the way, if you don't become a guest of the country, then you're not eligible for any welfare benefits when you come here. And you need to participate in the country. I feel, to me, that that's the best way to be fair for everyone. If I go into Mexico illegally, I will go to jail for 2 years. I think this is a good plan for us to come away from where we are. Yeah. I hope you agree. And $1,000 per year for 10 years.
That's.
Sava can earn that by singing on the street. I mean that as a joke somewhat, but the bottom line is $1,000 to participate in the American experiment because you broke the law when you entered here should not be too much of a burden. I don't think, because
as long as you are allowed to be a guest worker,
of course,
yeah,
and you are so energetic and so impassioned about the American experiment and our opportunities, shared opportunities here. Yeah. We all have to continue to work. Look, I'm 72 years old. I work harder now than I ever have. And I love doing that.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, because we'll talk about that later, because I want you to tell people that even at your age, at any age, we have to exercise. That's very important.
True. Good health is a mixture of a lot of different things. It's that pure food and water we're talking about. And sometimes people go, oh, that food is too expensive. Well, which is more expensive? Getting cancer and dying? Or trying to find wholesome food for your family and yourself? Now, farmers markets can provide that. Local produce can provide that. A garden of your own can provide that. One does not, and there, as I've said, I've been plenty of times in my life, I was not possessed of a lot of money, but I fed my children organically and I fed myself. What is more important, the much bigger car or your own health?
Your own health, of course.
You have to put the priorities where they belong. Yeah. So exercise. Exercise in the ocean is free. Exercise walking is free. Exercise bicycling is largely free with a bicycle. You don't have to go to a gym to be exercising. I built a gym out of some concrete and trash cans and a metal bar.
Yeah, that's too much. That's in Uganda. That's everywhere.
Right. It's not even. But that's what I did. I kicked the doorstop with a leg to be flexible for martial arts. You can take your surroundings and you can make it into whatever you want. You can do push-ups with no extra equipment. You can do sit-ups with no extra equipment. You can be flexible and do stretching daily, whether it's yoga or any other system of stretching. You can do those things out in a little piece of grass. You can do that anywhere. You spread a blanket down.
So it all ends on you yourself.
It's willpower to do it. And that can be challenging for some. There are some people who love to take care of other people so much, they never take care of themselves.
Exactly.
Well, it takes all kinds of people to make the world go around. You don't have to be a Greek god to be a good person. You just, for me, balance between the mind and the body is important because I'm able to give out the most wisdom and the most love when I'm actually taking care of myself most of the time.
At the same time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I want to remind you that we have Lukoba Kurukoba. Lukoba Kurukoba means string by string. Yeah? It's a live band. Sava and the band. Bantu Fest, we are having our event next week on Saturday, the 14th, August the 14th, Mateo Street, downtown LA, in the evening. You know how we do our traditional dances, where Michael is he was there the last time we had it, and this time he's gonna come with Patrick. We need to show Patrick how we do the traditional dancing, Baki Simba, how we dance to the song that Patrick picked.
I want to ask a question too.
Yeah.
How much money does it take to sing and to dance? It doesn't take any money to sing and to dance.
It doesn't take any money.
What you should do is, those things are free. And singing is one of the best things for your lungs, for your spirit, for endorphins, everything.
Yeah.
You can be healthy by singing. I need to do it more.
Yes.
I would ask you, how much money does it take to dance? It doesn't. Here's what you need to do, though. You need to say to yourself, I will not accept less for myself. I will not accept less than the finest food and the purest water for myself. And find that and make sure that you give yourself that. If you're a race car, and we're all race cars, you don't put polluted gas into your system.
Yes. So it's me first, always. You tell yourself, you first, me first.
I know it's, on the surface, it sounds like it's too expensive. I have to feed my family. So if you're going to feed your family, sure, sometimes you'll make the quickest choice. But try to get into the process of making the quickest and the best as you make it. Going for heavily fried food and heavily food that doesn't nourish your soul. Going for that more than a little bit, and we don't have to be fanatic, is not going to serve you.
Yeah.
It's not going to make your family healthy. You need to find the finest ingredients for yourself, cook it yourself, go to the market.
Yes.
It's a small thing, but it's very, very important.
Anyway, Patrick, Charles Anchang again says, Patrick, if you become the governor, how will you make? I think it's the same question like the immigrant guide director who asked the same. He's called Mpima Kalinda Mugambe. He asked. He's the owner. He's the founder of the Immigrant Guide. It's actually a non-profit that helps a lot of immigrants. Patrick, if you become the governor, how will you make your immigration proposition get through the Congress, the U.S. Congress and Senate?
It's a very wise question, because immigration constitutionally is a federal responsibility. It is not a state responsibility. In this state, I actually believe in following the law. And in this state, what have I done so far? I have written character references for undocumented in my building so that they would qualify for programs with the federal government that were put in place by Obama, so they could qualify for that amnesty program. I would make it so that despite the fact you have the federal government running immigration, but we also have something called federal mobility here, which means that the states have certain rights that they can exercise on their own. So I would set up my immigration program, our immigration program, as an example here in California, as an example of a California right to federal mobility. We will probably have to be able to have to fight that in the courts. Who knows? But I think if we have a positive reaction among our people, then we will be successful. We need only to worry about our realm and make it function positively. And great forces will align with us. I hope that answers your question. I would set up the program that I've articulated within this state and let the consequences come what may. Even though immigration constitutionally, in some respects, is a federal situation, we can still lead by example here.
Yes. Oh, Thank you very much. I think your question, both the Migrant Guide founder, Mr. Michael Kalinda Mugambe Mpima, and Mr. Charles Anchang from Cameroon. The next governor has elaborated, explained, and answered well your question, I guess. That's all about immigration, because many people ask something like that. And apart from agriculture and the sectors we've talked about, the film industry and all that, they also want to know other jobs like other sectors, the health sector, how are you going to help other sectors like the health sector, jobs?
It's a very, very good question. And the short answer is, again, all of us are going to have to work together to make it happen. I'll give you an example back to the film business. The reason that the film business went away was not just because of the lack of an incentive program. It had to do with the high cost of housing, the high cost of specialized union work, and the high cost of regulation and taxation.
Yeah.
So, once again, to solve the problem on many fronts, in order to get good eco-sensitive businesses to come back here, we need to work on the issue of the high cost of housing, design-worthy, affordable housing. We need to work on getting the unions to work with us rather than being entrenched and driving the cost of competition so high up. We all have to work together. The private sector, the businesses that we want to come back, have to work with us. The government has to work with us with subsidies so that it works on a multiple level of teamwork. Why do businesses move elsewhere? They move elsewhere because they can get land inexpensively, they can get laborers less expensively, they can get what they need for their business with less regulation and influence by the state. They have to pay less taxes. The bottom line is we have to create an environment, and because we have the most beautiful landscape. By the way, if I want to do a movie that involves the ocean, I can't go to New Mexico unless I shoot in a building and make it all computerized. So New Mexico is good for certain things. And by the way, the future of film business, a lot of it is just shooting in a building, shooting in a chamber, and everything is computerized around it. So you have to confront that reality and realize, is that how I want to film? Do I want to film inside of a chamber, or do I want to build the sets that I need to build? Back to your question. The reason the film business and other businesses are leaving California is because of many different reasons. The unions in Georgia were not as powerful. So if the unions in California only hold on to their turf and do not work with businesses and do not work collaboratively with the private sector and with people rolling up their sleeves and working and the government providing subsidies, it's still challenging. Let me give you an example of Canada, Vancouver. Vancouver has a Teamster union chapter. They have a special contract. When a film comes to Vancouver, they get tax incentives from the state. Everyone in the Teamsters acts like they're part of the family. If you're a driver on the film, your brothers and sisters come down and work to make the film happen. So it's like family working together to create it. So they have, And why? So what happened? They got $33 billion many, many years ago from the United States, and we trained all of Canada's infrastructure to be great filmmakers at the same time.
Okay.
So we all have to work together. The unions have to work together. By the way, I think the Screen Actors Guild Union works with producers and with filmmakers very well. I think that they don't stop competition. They have different contracts for all different kinds of things. It's a union that needs some work because they're not serving their members as well as they should, and there's some corruption there, and it needs to be fixed. Just like there's some corruption in our state, and that needs to be fixed. We need to
Very important.
We need to all work together, and we need to all work together with the highest ethical standards.
Okay, so Michael Adigoke, migrant in the house. Patrick has solved our immigration problem. So it's like people should know that many problems, if we get Patrick in the office of the governor, many things are sorted. That's what he's trying to communicate. So I think you've heard for yourselves. That's a good thing. You talked about how your family is happy and proud of you standing, because that's one of the questions that came from one of our people in San Francisco. Okay, how did it feel like when you acted as a villain in the movie The Toxic Avenger, 1984? Around 1984, 1985.
You mean Toxic Avenger?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, when you're playing a part, you don't really think of yourself as being a villain. You have sympathy and empathy for your own character. Villains don't think they're bad necessarily. They think they're doing what they need to do, in most cases, in order to survive. Let's take a person like Idi Amin. Idi Amin grew up being brutalized, and he gave brutality back to the world, and he felt that that was what was necessary to stay in power and to be alive. He went to the dark side, okay? We need not to go to the dark side. We're all going to die anyway. You might as well be an angel rather than a devil. So how did it feel playing an evil guy in a movie? I've already shared with you, playing evil guys in movies is fun. It's rich investigative arena of human behavior. How much of us are fascinated by great villains in history? We are, because we wonder how those people. Let's take somebody like Hitler. Terrible villain. Terrible villain.
Hitler.
But fascinating to watch. I think he believed that the world existed and the strong ate the weak. I don't think that's true. I think that goodness resides in all people, and we need to foster that goodness. I think we need to exist as angels rather than devils.
Yes.
And we all have a choice every moment of every day.
Yes.
And we are all flawed, and sometimes you fall, and sometimes you rise again. But
Two-way.
yeah, who are you going to be today? An angel or a devil?
It depends. It depends what you decide for yourself. Because if you want to be an angel, you start by helping, thinking positive, doing this and that. You know, positive. Be you.
I think Hitler was so hurt and felt so betrayed and felt so revengeful after World War I. And by the way, what happened there? The French and the English, and to some extent the Americans, crafted a treaty that caused the German people to suffer for World War I. And so his whole life was, I'm going to get them back for making me suffer.
Oh, so
Well, let's take Abraham Lincoln as a difference. Abraham Lincoln saw the suffering of the Civil War, and he said at the end of it, I'm not going to make my enemies suffer. I'm going to restore them to their rightful place so that they can go forward as our partners in America. And unfortunately, he was assassinated. But let's look at Nelson Mandela. He served 27 years in prison. That can make a person pretty bitter. He was not bitter. He did not succumb to bitterness. He came out, and the white South Africans joined with him to make a better society.
yes.
So you have a choice. These people chose to be angels. Hitler chose to be a wolf and a devil.
Begins with you.
And by the way, you suffer the consequences. Look what he suffered. And look how the German people suffered by following him.
So many people should listen to your mom's statement.
Yeah, she came up with some good ones.
It all comes back to you. Carry on cross at the end of the day. So we need to make right decisions. Frank Denard said, charismatic and outstanding actor. Thank you very much. Another one is called Douglas. Douglas sent a message from, I think he's in New York. I just wrote his name. He said, thank you for the master class to military service members, veterans, and dependents on how to break into entertainment industry.
Yes, that was at the New York Film Academy. Great privilege to do that. And thank you for your service to the country. A country that doesn't take care of its warriors cannot long last. So my father was a Silver Star recipient and a Purple Heart recipient in World War II. And so I have great affection and devotion to the veteran community and know them to be the great heroes. Again, though, we're all heroes if we choose to be, just by working hard as a single mother, just as a single father taking care of his children. We're all heroes. You're heroes. And so I acknowledge that heroicness every day. Our firemen, our policemen, our teachers, our union workers, our leaders are heroes if they're doing the job correctly.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Patrick Ogwang, a great interview. Patrick is getting the votes. That's the gentleman that has the beverage company that sells the juice Makasi, who asked about the agriculture. Hope all your questions have been answered very well. The one who asked when I'll bring Patrick back, he was actually from Ghana in San Francisco. We'll work on a few things. I will join the team, and whenever he goes, I'll be streaming. Who knows? I'll talk to the team, to Maria and the rest of the team, so that we as immigrants, we as African Americans get involved in his campaign, follow closely what is happening, because most of the times people who run don't come to to us, and that's one of the things that people are thanking you for, like coming to us, because we are also very many, and that's why they are pledging, they like to support and everything. So
I want to add this,
yeah,
if I can.
please.
It's such a great privilege to be here with you, and I'm very humbled by that experience. I want you also to take a look at the advertising that is being put out by the Newsom campaign. They are saying that anyone who wants a better place, anyone who wants a more fair and just society, anyone who wants change for the positive is an insurrectionist and is retrograde, trying to take California backwards. Nothing could be further from the truth. You know it and I know it. We want to make California and the lives of our children better, more free, more joyous for our schools, our environment, our taxes, our pocketbooks, for our aspirations as people. I know you to be the best and the brightest and the most energetic who belong here, totally participating in every aspect of our rich society. Thank you very much. Onward and upward, and I look forward to meeting with all of you and seeing you, and I look forward to serving you. This movement, this thing that we're doing will not end with an election. We will continue here at Uncommon Dialogue Films and my life to make our lives all better. And we will continue, win, lose, or draw, even though I think we will win. So onward and upward, thank you very much. It doesn't end on September 14th. And mostly I want to ask you to please go out and vote, because that is the most cherished exercise you can participate in as a citizen here of the United States of America. And as a citizen in the world, you get to decide what the world is going to look like. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, my event director next week, Miss Desiree Chevumbi, says congratulations for a great interview with Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Solomon.
And
thank you, Michael, for setting this up. Thank you, Maria.
Yes.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next week, I want to play the song that was in it's my song, actually. My song that was in Patrick's video. It's not me who did it. They just sent it to me. They didn't know even what it means, but it was this song.
Can I just add this?
Yeah, please.